Lesson 1-2, Order of Operations. 1-2 is a 2-day lesson, and this is the first day of the lesson. The essential question is, what can help you to remember the order of operations? Now, the important thing to remember with order of operations is PEMDAS, and that's what we use to help us remember the order that we should solve a problem if it's an order of operations problem. The P stands for parentheses. The X stands for exponents. The M stands for multiply. The D stands for divide. The A stands for add. And the S stands for subtract. You'll notice that there are parentheses around the M and the D and the A and the S with arrows pointing to the right. What this means is after you've done any parentheses and exponents, you do the multiplying and dividing from left to right. So if you're reading a problem from left to right and the multiplying is first, then the dividing, you do it in that order. If the dividing comes first, then the multiplying, you do it in that order. That's the same as the adding and subtracting. Those are the two things people most likely miss on PEMDAS problems. Multiplying and dividing, adding and subtracting always go from left to right, not necessarily in that order. Evaluate each power. So if we have 3 to the second power, that means we are multiplying 3 times 3, which equals 9. If we have 2 to the 4th power, we're multiplying 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which equals 16. And if we have 7 to the 3rd power, we're multiplying 7 times 7 times 7, which if you take 7 times 7, you get 49. If you multiply 49 times 7, 9 times 7 is 63. 4 times 7 is 28. 28 plus 6 is 34. So your answer is 343. The reason we did these 3 problems is we want to make sure that you remember that 3 squared isn't 3 times 2. 2 to the 4th power isn't 2 times 4. And 7 to the 3rd power isn't 7 to the 3rd power. The big number, the exponent tells you how many times to multiply the biggest number. Evaluate using the order of operations. 4 divided by 2 plus 3 times 7. So I'm going to take PEMDAS to help me figure out what I should do first. I'll look at my problem and I'll see that I don't have any parentheses and I also don't have any exponents. So then that means I have to multiply and divide from left to right. So I start at the left of my problem. I have a dividing, so I stop and do that first. 4 divided by 2 is 2, and then I'm going to write out the rest of the problem. Then I start from the left of my problem again, and I still have multiplying, so I have to do that first before I do the adding. So I'm going to leave it as 2 plus, but then 3 times 7 is 21. And then I'm left with just addition. 21 plus 2 is 23. The nice thing about order of operations problems is when you're done, if you keep your problem organized, it should make a pizza or an ice cream cone. Evaluate using the order of operations. 20 minus 7 plus 8 squared minus 7 times 11. So again, I'm going to use PEMDAS to help me figure out the order of how I should solve this problem. So I look at my problem, I don't see any parentheses, so then I move to the E, which is exponents. I do have one exponent, 8 squared. So I'm going to write down 64, and then I'm going to copy the rest of the problem. 20 minus 7 plus 64 minus 7 times 11. Next, I do my multiplying and dividing from left to right. You'll notice we have one multiplying part in our problem, but no dividing. So I'll do the multiplying. Keep in mind this negative sign here. Negative 7 times 11 would be negative 77, and then I put the rest of my problem in. My multiplying and dividing is all done, so I can move to adding and subtracting. Remember, adding and subtracting goes from left to right. So I'm going to start at the left. Even though it's subtracting, we have to do that first. So 20 minus 7 is 13, and then I'll write out the rest of my problem. Again, I go from left to right, so 13 plus 64 is 77 minus 77, which is 0. And again, if we solved our problem neatly, we should end up with either a pizza or an ice cream cone. All right, this will be the first problem. You'll notice we have exponents. You'll also notice we have two different kinds of exponents. We have parentheses and we also have brackets, which these right here are what you call brackets. When you have more than one set of parentheses or parentheses and brackets, they're considered this in the same group, you work from the inside out. So that means we're going to work inside this parenthesis first. I have 9 plus 3 squared. If I follow PEMDAS, I know I have to do the exponent first. So I'm going to turn this into a 9, and then I'm going to copy down the rest of the problem. Remember, 3 squared isn't 3 times 2, it's 3 times 3. All right, I keep going inside this parenthesis. 3 plus 9 is 12. All right, now I've just got the 12 in the parentheses, so there's nothing else I can do with that number, so I go to these outside brackets, and I have 3 times 12 is 36. And if I divide 108 by 306, I should end up with 3. Last one. This one looks a little bit different because we have a big divided by sign in our problem. Again, I'm going to write PEMDAS on the top. On big dividing problems like this, I like to work out the top, and then I work out the bottom, and then I divide. So looking at the top, I've got parentheses. 4 plus 5 would be 9. And then I have to put my squared in there. And on the bottom, in my parentheses, I have 7 minus 4, which is 3. And then the 3 on the outside. Then I can simplify both. 9 squared is 81. 3 squared is 9. And then I can simplify that all the way. 81 divided by 9 is 9. So those are the only problems where I work them out so that it doesn't end up being a pizza or an ice cream cone. I simplify the top, I simplify the bottom, and last I divide. So I take PEMDAS on the top, PEMDAS on the bottom, and then divide last. Summary. Something that helps me remember the order of operations is PEMDAS. At this point, I think most people remember that the multiplying, or what the multiplying, dividing, adding, subtracting, parentheses, exponents all stand for. But I think the key to remember is multiplying and dividing goes from left to right, and the adding And subtracting goes from left to right. One other icon sometimes I like to draw in my summary to help me remember PEMDAS is that ice cream cone or pizza. And when you get to the bottom, you should end up with your answer. The homework for this lesson is page 12, numbers 1 through 9. Make sure you show step by step your answers for each problem. You should always end up with a pizza or an ice cream cone when you're done, unless it's one of the big dividing problems.